All right, so shoe repair. When you sent me those articles, I have to admit, I was a little skeptical.
Really?
Yeah, like, is that even a thing anymore? You know,
I get it. It does seem a bit old-fashioned in our world of like instant gratification and next day delivery.
exactly. But honestly, the more I dug into it, the more I realized, wait, there might be something here.
Hmm.
Like maybe we're too quick to just toss out our old shoes and buy new ones.
It is fascinating how our perceptions can change, isn't it? We tend to think of shoe repair as this dying art, but when you really look at it, it's way more relevant now than we might give it credit for.
Right. And that RoleCatcher guide you sent over, it doesn't mess around. It gets into the nitty-gritty of what shoe repair actually entails.
Mm.
And it's not just like slapping on a new sole.
Right, right.
They actually break down all the different skills involved. Everything from restoring like completely beat up shoes to working on other leather goods. Like they mentioned belts and bags too.
Yeah, and that's what surprised me when I first started looking into this. The sheer range of stuff they do. It's not just knowing how to use a few tools. It's about understanding how leather works, the different types, how they react to wear and tear, all that. And then on top of that, you've got the machinery. Some of it's pretty specialized.
Right. There was something in there about a stitcher, wasn't there?
Oh, yeah.
Like a heavy-duty sewing machine, right?
Yeah.
For boots and saddles and things like that.
Exactly. A stitcher's essential for those super thick seams that a regular sewing machine just can't handle. And mastering one of those, talk about craftsmanship.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's not just knowing which buttons to press, it's about understanding the materials, the tension, having an eye for detail, way more involved than just gluing on a new sole, that's for sure.
It really makes you think twice about those fast fashion hauls.
Right.
Like all those articles about slow fashion and investing in quality pieces, they start to make a whole lot more sense when you realize that repairing a well-made item should be the norm, not some crazy exception.
Absolutely. As people become more aware of sustainability and the impact of their choices, knowing how to extend the lifespan of the things we already own, whether it's a pair of boots or a favorite leather bag, it becomes incredibly valuable. It's about appreciating quality and craftsmanship. And those are things, by the way, that we're seeing a resurgence of across the board, not just in shoe repair.
It's interesting, though, because for the longest time, we've always heard these kinds of trades are dying out. Like, is
Yep.
that actually true for shoe repair?
Well, that's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you know what? The RoleCatcher guide doesn't try to downplay that. They actually address the challenges right up front,
Right?
which I appreciate.
Yeah, like the physical demands for one. I mean, standing all day working with those hand tools, that's got to be rough on your body. And what about actually moving up in that kind of job? It's not like there's a
Mm.
corporate ladder you can climb in a shoe repair
Yeah.
shop, right?
You're not wrong. Those are definitely things you have to consider. But, and this is where it gets interesting, the guide actually talks about how those challenges can actually create opportunities, especially in today's world.
Okay, now I'm really curious. How does that work?
Well, let's take the physical aspect. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's demanding, it requires stamina, but it also develops those really valuable fine motor skills.
Yeah.
Hand-eye coordination, dexterity, even just an understanding of ergonomics, which you can apply to like all areas of life, right?
Good to point.
And then there's the whole career progression thing. Yeah, the opportunities within a shop might be limited, but that's where being entrepreneurial comes in. The guide actually highlighted self-employment as a huge plus for shoe repairers.
Oh, that's right. They did mention that. Starting your own business, that's like next level stuff. You'd be your own boss, set your own hours, maybe even specialize in a certain type of repair or a certain type of client.
Hmm.
That kind of freedom is hard to come by these days.
Exactly. And then on top of all that, there's the technology piece, which, frankly, when I first read about it, I was kind of blown away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What's that?
You know how we were talking about the specialized machinery earlier? Well, it turns out even shoe repair is getting into, like, the whole 3D printing thing.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah.
They're printing, like, shoe parts now.
It's pretty wild, right? They're using it to create custom orthotic inserts, replicate vintage shoe buckles that you just can't find anymore, even design entirely new components for like high-end footwear. And this isn't some far-off thing. It's happening right now.
So it's not that technology is replacing these traditional skills. It's more like it's adding to them, opening up new possibilities.
Exactly. Those fundamental skills, craftsmanship, understanding materials, problem solving, all that, those are still the foundation. But technology just brings in this whole other level of precision and possibility. In fact, the guide mentioned a growing need for these really specialized repair services, especially for like high-end shoes, custom-made stuff. Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Like designer shoes, those vintage collectible sneakers, pieces that people spend a lot of money on and want to keep in pristine condition. It
Exactly.
would make sense to get them repaired.
It's not just a pair of shoes at that point. It's an investment.
Totally.
And that's creating this whole niche market for really skilled shoe repairers who can cater to that level of craftsmanship, that attention to detail. So yeah, some people might still see it as a dying trade, but like we've been talking about, the reality is much more interesting than that. It's evolving.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we've got technology shaking things up, growing demand for like high-end repairs. It's definitely not the image I had in my head before. But what does this actually look like for someone who's just starting out?
Well, that's where the RoleCatcher guide really goes the extra mile, because they don't just talk about the industry as a whole, they actually map out like a whole career path,
Oh, cool.
step by step.
So you're not just like thrown into the deep end, huh?
Exactly. They break it down into 3 main stages.
It's kind of like, they even say it's like leveling up in a video game, which I thought was a fun way to think about it.
I like that. So what's the first level?
So the first stage, they call it entry level. Pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah.
Think of it like an apprenticeship. You're learning the ropes, you're assisting the more experienced repairers, probably doing a lot of cleaning and polishing, basic stitching, just getting those foundational skills down, getting comfortable with the tools.
Yeah, that makes sense. Start with the basics. You wouldn't want someone let loose on a pair of like designer heels without even knowing how to hold an awl.
Exactly.
But once you've mastered the basics, what's next? How do you level up?
All right, so that's where you graduate to junior shoe repairer.
Ooh, junior shoe repairer. I like it.
So this is where you start taking on more responsibility, right? You're doing those standard repairs on your own, you're operating the machinery. You might even be advising customers on like different repair options or which materials to use. The guide actually told a story about one junior repairer who really hit their stride at this stage.
Really?
Yeah, they said they even got a lot faster at the repairs while still maintaining that same level of quality. Like it just clicked for them.
That's awesome.
And they said it was like solving a puzzle, getting better and better at it each time.
I love that. There's like a real sense of accomplishment that comes with that kind of work too.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've put in the time, you've honed your skills. What does it mean to reach like peak shoe repair status?
Well, according to RoleCatcher, you've reached senior shoe repairer level.
Senior shoe repairer. That sounds impressive.
Right. So this is where you are the go-to person. You're overseeing the entire repair process from start to finish. You're the one tackling those really complex restorations, the ones that would make a less experienced repairer break into a cold sweat.
I like that. And it's not just about the hands-on stuff. You're also mentoring the junior staff, troubleshooting any problems that come up, even handling difficult customer situations. You're basically running the show. One of the senior repairers they profiled actually talked about how they developed their own quality control checklist that they use for every single repair. They go above and beyond just to make sure everything meets their standards. Wow. So at that point, you're not even just fixing shoes anymore. You're like managing a business. You're mentoring. That's a whole other skill set.
It really is. And what I thought was interesting is that the guide even pointed out how those skills can translate to other industries. They listed a bunch of related career paths, like you could become an orthopedic footwear technician, which makes sense given the whole precision aspect of it. They even mentioned bespoke footwear making. So you could go from repairing designer shoes to actually crafting them yourself.
That's so cool. You could start with repairs and then end up designing shoes for a living. Talk about a glow up.
Right. It really opens up the possibilities. It's like we get so caught up in like, the next big thing, the latest tech job, that we forget about the value of these traditional like craft-based skills. But knowing how to build things, repair things, create quality goods, that's something that will always be in demand no matter what happens with technology.
100%. Well, you know what? I got to be honest. I started this whole deep dive thinking shoe repair. Is that even a thing anymore? But here we are. We've uncovered this whole world of like intricate skills, cool technology, and a career path that honestly sounds surprisingly fulfilling.
I'm so glad to hear that. It's like you said earlier, we're so quick to just toss stuff out and buy new things. But what if instead we embrace this idea of repair, of giving things a second life, It's better for the planet, it's better for our wallets, and you know what? It just feels good to know how to fix things to create something that will last. So yeah, maybe the next time you see a shoe repair shop, you won't just see it as a place to get your heels fixed. You'll see it as like this little hub of craftsmanship, of innovation, of this really cool, enduring skill.
I love that. All right, everybody. There you have it. Shoe repair. Not your grandpa's career path, or maybe it is, but either way, it's definitely one worth a second look.